Lights are out, which is a very common problem. It's a very easy, cheap bulb to find, and I just need to locate some of those. I had a couple of these input status lights, and one of the recording lights and one of the lenses was missing. And I mean, the machine worked fine, but the OCD in me, I had to come up with the lights to fix them. I replaced several of the bulbs, basically in the meters that I put. Replaced these twin lead bulbs and or the lens. I also fixed the bayonet mount meter lights at the same time. The machine, as you can see, is in really nice condition. Somebody had an edit block velcroed up here, and I would like to find another one and put it up there. The pinch roller is in great shape. Everything on it is really great. The transport is great. Yeah, it comes with an auto locator 3, which does just all kinds of things. Obviously it does a lot of locating of the tape. Also will control the mode of the tape speed from fixed to variable with this encoder here. When it's in the tape speed mode, this button here, if it were rolling, would actually show me the display of the tape moving. As you can see, it's had some use. It's had two owners that I know of before me. One was a guy in Nashville, and then the guy that I got it from has had it for about 30 years, and he was located down in Taylor Mill, Kentucky, which is very close to me. Still not cheap to have it moved up here because, of course, I did have to have it professionally moved. But I wanted to show kind of what some of these things do. I'm going to take a look inside here and kind of show you some of the internals of it. One of the things that's great about this machine, by the way, is that it's just made to be worked on. So the tape transport itself rolls up and open pretty easily, so that you can get to the inside parts of it. Where's the light? So that's pretty cool. Down here you see the different boards, which I'll show you that in a minute. But it's had some upgrade work done to it. There are a couple of areas where the electronics would have over the years had some issues. These IC sockets you see here originally had kind of a bad batch of them. They've been replaced. Some of the internal stuff has been upgraded. It came with, I found this actually blocking the transport of one of these channel bays that I'll show you here in a minute. This is the Logic Annunciator card, and what it does is it actually plugs in to this main logic board. You see here these channels, these terminals across the top, and it actually will show you the functional status of the ICs here, which is really cool. One more thing to show you inside the machine is the serial number tag. This was made, these were made in the US. Later they're known as Sony's. But before MCI was bought out, MCI was in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and this is serial number 1342, and it says that it has a date of July 82. So it is like I said, an early model of JH24. I will show you here, putting this thing back in where it won't get in the way. And again, this thing just has all these, cool little gizmos. It's got these, it's hard to work with one hand while I'm working the camera. But it's got these quick releases here, which lock down this upper table. And again, very difficult to operate with one hand while you're trying to take pictures with the other one. So I apologize for that. There we go. I want to make sure it's locked down good. Close that back up. Like I said, everything on it is made to open, which is really cool. Here on the front, you see these three 70s looking cabinets, and what happens is you push this lever here, and these all slide out. There is a catch. There we go. And then what you're looking at here is the cards that power the channels in banks of 8. So you've got repro cards, output cards, record cards, which by the way has different EQ curves. Also has bias defeat for testing mostly. And then it's got a bias board here that you can set all these levels at, so you can basically calibrate the entire machine. And it's got 24 of these. So there are places online that sell these cards. You just pop them out. It's like something out of Star Trek. And put it back in. Just roll it in like yay. But basically, this machine is sex with transformers and transistors. So I'm going to show you a little bit of how the transport works. I'm going to be using the auto locator over here. These buttons here also work. There it's going into play mode. I'm on a leader here for, I'm going to, let's see. You can see the motors work just fine, and there you're going to see it basically playing back. This is just a tape of test tones that I've got here. So right now it is in tape mode, which means it's on the repro head. It's got an erase head, a record head, and a repro head. The repro head is the playback head, which is the highest quality head on it. And again, these are all replaceable. This entire head stack can be replaced with a 16-track head stack if you wanted to do 16 tracks of recording on it. And all of it's in great shape. As you can see by there, there's some varying signals going on. What I wanted to do was go back to 0. Which basically just puts me on this leader tape. And the reason I'm doing that is because I'm going to demonstrate the recording function of it and how the lights work on it, but I don't want to actually record over this antique calibration tape. So I've basically forwarded myself onto this kind of generous leader here, and what you do basically is you put it into you arm these record enable switches, and you'll see it changes the status of that light here. So I've got all 24 of these armed, and then what you do, if you want to hear the input and you want to hear the tape, then you're basically listening to playback off of the same head that's synced to what you're recording to, which is the cue, as opposed to the repro head. So what happens then is you get to the spot where you want. You've got maybe your drums are on, channels 1 through 8, or whatever you've got here. You've got your tape rolled up. You hit record and play, and well, let's say I'm not going to record on the first 5 channels. So you see those lights are off there, and maybe I've got a guide vocal down here on 22 and 23, so I've taken those out, and I hit record and play when I get to the time code that I want. And so basically there you see those tracks are all recording, or they would be if I had it on real tape instead of leader. Now if I go back to the location there again, and I'm going to do it again, and you will see that what it does is I can actually quick punch these into record mode. So to say I want to just jump into record mode and then go back and get these on channel 22 and 3. Now it's recording on channel 22 and 3. Now the other thing I want to do, this is not something I would do very often because it's not really a practical recording situation, but just to demonstrate that all the lights work because they're really pretty, I'm going to show you what happens when you go into record on all 24 of these tracks. Essentially, to me, this is black magic, and there are a few things that I think are cooler than a really nicely working analog multi-track recorder like that. So I'm going to go ahead and take those all out of record mode, just so that I don't actually record and accidentally any calibration tape settings off here. Oops, and there we go. So they're all off in regular mode now, and I can play back in this mode. If I go back into where the test codes are, test tones, so I can play back in this mode here off the cue head, or I can switch over to the repro head here, which is what you would do just for playback. Basically, you would want to use the playback head because it's the highest quality head, and that's